Hello, and welcome to Take Care with Moom with Mili and Maya the
here.
Co-founders of Moom.
Yes.
So today we are going to go way back, pre-Moom idea, honestly, like pre-teen, basically.
Yeah, literally
to
pre-teen.
Maya's original health journey that really started it all without us even realizing it.
But before we do that, you
Yes.
can tell we are in bed after a long work day. Today was quite a stressful one.
Today
as well.
was like the definition of being a founder day.
and being in a startup.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do an episode on that one day. But we did want to go, way back to the beginning of before Moom, how the idea even came to mind eventually.
Yep.
But I think to start off, we've talked about this a few times, so we're going to get straight into it. A lot of the founding reason that we created Moom was really because of my PCOS story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when we talk about it today, oftentimes Mili is actually the one that presents it, whether or not we're in like a board meeting or like, I don't know.
Even like telling friends, I'm telling her journey because it truly was such a family journey. It was not just like, well, yes, Maya had to deal with all the side effects and all of the everything that comes with having PCOS. It was such a family journey to try to figure this out for her over the course of basically like what 10 15 years.
10 years, yeah.
That it truly is a story that I feel like I can tell almost as
By
well
heart,
as you.
Yeah. No, literally.
Yeah.
But I think to begin with, I guess like, okay, we fast forward or like rewind to when I was 13.
Yeah.
Essentially, right? So 13 years old, had already had my period for a bit, I think. When do you get your period?
Yeah, like 12, 13.
But pretty much immediately knew that it was an irregular period. Like I think I had gotten my period. And by the way, had to stick a tampon in the day I got my period because we were swimmers. So had a heavy flow from the beginning.
Thank you, swim coach, for never letting us skip practice.
Yeah, I was so scared of not skipping practice that was like, okay, I'll put a tampon in the day I get my period. Again, another story. I digress. But my period was irregular like from the beginning. And I didn't think much of it because honestly, I got it. It lasted around a week and a half, which is a little bit more than usual, but not too bad. And then I didn't get it for 3 months. And I was like, oh my God, yay. I don't have to have my period again. But then it came every 2 weeks for basically a week and a half again, which was way too much. And so first symptom of me being like something is slightly wrong with my body was that. But I think even before that, I thought back to like, okay, now that I have my period, there are other things going on. And there are also things that have always bothered me about myself, like my facial hair. And we're Indian, so obviously facial hair is a thing for Indian women.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I would say I had a little bit here and there, but it wasn't anything like too much. That wasn't manageable with a little like threading and waxing. It was very, very, very easy to keep under control.
Which I was super envious of, obviously. And I was struggling with like massive eyebrows as a kid, which, okay, now in hindsight, maybe I should have kept the massive eyebrows. They're in fashion now, but also had a lot of like stubble on my mustache area, which was like really embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was bullied for it. Had like chin hairs again. So this was all like at the age of 13 to 14, started realizing, okay, number one, my periods are irregular. Number two, I'm getting all this weird facial hair stuff. And number three, like the hair on my head is actually really, really thin. Mm-hmm. And again, we were swimmers. So relating back to the swimming bit, we were in chlorinated water all day long. So I mean,
and naturally, I think you just like blame, oh, it's the chlorinated water, or it's I don't take care of my hair. But it was much thinner than like most people, I guess, around you.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing that, and we went and saw so many doctors.
Yeah.
And it took so long for you to be diagnosed with PCOS was because Maya never had the weight gain.
Yeah, and
like,
that's like
she was like a malnutrition looking little child.
No.
She was so skinny.
I was like skinny presenting or whatever, right? But I think oftentimes when people think PCOS, they only think weight gain or like insulin resistance or sugar cravings. And I was very much the opposite on that side of things, but I had every other symptom that you could name, like that was under
but
the
it
PCOS
was crazy
stuff.
to even think that doctors would almost disregard the fact that you have PCOS because you weren't like the traditional checklist.
Yeah.
You had most things, but you didn't have everything. And so it was like, oh no, it has to be something else. And something we've learned now, which I found so interesting, was that actually in another podcast interview that we did, a doctor in Malaysia said that Dr. Sharon, shout out to her, she's amazing, that every woman has PCOS until proven otherwise.
And that actually is something that it has come up more and more, right? So all these other symptoms of PCOS. So I guess rewinding again a little bit back, then I had these periods that were just so god awful that I was bleeding so much. And so that's what led us to go to doctors. And I visited all these different doctors until finally I went to one that was like, okay, cool. Let's take this test called the Rotterdam test, which is essentially like a set of 3 symptoms that you can have that will prove that you have PCOS. A lot of them are like the outward presenting symptoms, but the last one is also having cysts, which another misconception, you can still have PCOS without having cysts. I, however, got the ultrasound, got everything, did have cysts. So was confirmed that I had PCOS at the age of 15. So again, if you think about that timeline, it took me almost 2 years. And I actually consider myself one of the lucky ones that was diagnosed quite young. Most people don't get diagnosed until they're trying to get pregnant.
And a lot has to do with the fact that our family was so involved, specifically our mom. Like we always say that she's like the original health influencer.
The OG
she was like green juicing before green juice was a thing. She was making us see acupuncturists and Ayurvedic specialists and everything before like it was all over TikTok, right? So thank you to our mom. Maybe we should have her on.
Yeah, we will.
Once.
We'll
but
do an episode with her.
In any case, I think, and it still took 2 years for Maya to be able to figure that out because she didn't present every single symptom, but also because she was so young. Everyone was like, oh no, PCOS is like when you're pregnant kind of thing, right? And that's typically when people actually tend to find out is when they are trying to get pregnant or going through that kind of TTC fertility journey. So yes, 15, get diagnosed. Long story short, you got put on the birth control pill.
Yeah, which was like the most classic part of my diagnosis.
Exactly.
I think. You get diagnosed, you get put on the birth control pill. And I don't come from a conservative family, so it was never really a question of like whether or not I was going on it. But it was like, okay, great. I was told this was going to clear all of my symptoms. Like I wasn't going to have very many side effects. Everything would be fine. And I ended up taking the birth control pill up until I was in college.
Yep.
And I remember I graduated from college and moved back to Singapore and my symptoms, and they were probably there all along during college, but I was honestly working out so much, swimming so much that I'm sure a lot of my symptoms in college were just ignored and I was ignoring them as well. I moved back, I started working a job and my symptoms were coming back crazy amounts.
I have like the most vivid memory of I wasn't living in Singapore, but I was visiting and I got a call from Maya at like 3:30 p.m. She was working for WeWork.
Yeah. And by the way, my job at WeWork was like I was working at the front desk.
Yeah. So it was very outward facing. She was showing people around. This was like the first WeWork building, I think. And she calls me and she goes, I might get the address wrong. You need to come to like 18 Beach Road now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's 3 p.m. What happened? And she was like, I literally have bled through like 2 pads. I don't have any more. I'm wearing white pants. It's like everywhere. I have to come home. Literally this moment.
I had bled on the front desk chair. Literally. Like
okay,
I
we shouldn't laugh. But
a 25-year-old girl that had got her period on the front desk chair. And I was wearing a tampon and a pad at the time. Like I was bleeding so much. And that is like one of course, the side effects you have. Is a really heavy period. Like she's got a wide set vagina and a heavy flow. Yeah. Mean girls.
So
it took you that long to get.
Sorry. It's been a long day. Gosh, classic sister calling me out on not getting the Mean Girls reference.
Hell? Like,
sorry. But yes, and I think that was kind of when, you know, you also were
and
like...
I was on the pill at the time too. So like...
I feel like that was a tipping point. Yeah. Though. That was like when you were like, okay, the pill, I'm just taking this pill. I'm dealing with not only all the side effects of PCOS, but I'm also dealing with all the side effects of taking the pill.
Yes.
Which are... I think now a lot of people know they range from anything mood related to hormonal to whatever it may be, right? The pill regulates your hormones in the sense that you get a period every month. So that in a sense, like it did do that.
Yes, it helped that, but it didn't necessarily help everything. And I had a lot of side effects. So then I was like, okay, screw the pill. I need to get off it. And I want to go cold turkey. And I read this book called Woman Code by Elisa Vitti. And she's a doctor from the US. And she talks about all about like tuning into your body and like this really like hippy dippy Mili's not into it at all. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be like a woman of the earth. Like I'm going to really commit.
And I was like, okay, let's not go so far.
But I did go so far.
Yes, she did.
And I went to like every natural health practitioner possible in Singapore. I think I even spoke to like a yogi in India and like an Ayurvedic practitioner in India. And then I went to TCM doctors here. I was going to acupuncture. I went to a naturopath here that was doing like mud packs on my body. Like I really went deep into wellness to heal my PCOS. Long story short, after all of that, what I essentially found was that all of these practitioners were saying similar things one way or the other. Slow things down, try not to stress, take your supplements, and work out a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
So it was like these 3 things, honestly. Like
the slow thing and the workout
is one whatever,
kind of, right? It was the type of workouts. And that was what, I mean, honestly, that was the first time I actually saw Maya really consistent with supplements.
Yeah.
We always say like our mom used to give us baggies of supplements to take to swim practice, to take, and honestly, to take with us to college. She would literally pack half a suitcase of just like supplements in these little bags.
Like Asian mom of her.
That was like, you have to take these every single day because she knew that we were, college students that did nothing responsible ever. Yeah. And still she wouldn't take them. But it was this point where it was like every single day, everything was being taken. All of the whatever she had to do was being done. And I think
we did endless amounts of research.
Yeah, exactly.
Too, right? So I feel like when you have an issue and you're really committed to solving it, like you will be very consistent, especially when over time you start seeing results. And I think that was the tipping point happened. And then the, not like light bulb moment because it was years later, but essentially the
conversation about things related to this, whether it was PCOS or anything else, kind of started both amongst us, but then also amongst our friends and family. And like people started just going to Maya to ask so many questions about different things. And a couple years later, I had a very similar bout of like adult hormonal acne. I was living in the US.
Yeah.
I had been quite fortunate as a teenager and young adult that I had never really struggled with acne. I was like, I was fortunate with my skin. And I turned 30. I always say it was 6 months after I got married. So maybe there was something I had done right in the world that everybody was like, we'll give this to her after she gets married.
Like perfect skin at her wedding.
And then I got married. So maybe it's my husband's fault. Who knows? But basically I got this horrible bout of hormonal acne. And I mean like
it was bad
all over my face. Like it was so bad. Maybe we can like show a photo or something.
And it wasn't just like, I mean, not to be graphic, but it wasn't like pimples. It was like almost like welts.
Yeah. And it happened what felt like overnight. Like it felt like, oh, okay, I have a pimple. Not a big deal. I have 3 pimples. Okay, it's fine. It'll go away. And then it just like took over my skin. In the course of a month, I genuinely feel like I went from perfectly clear skin to all over my cheeks.
Like the videos you see on TikTok today of people that have really bad acne.
Genuinely go on TikTok and look up bad acne. That's what it looked like. And
we promise this story is somehow related to what we were
what I was saying was that
about.
I was living in the US and I went to a doctor because I was like, what is happened? I need to fix this. And the first thing they tell me was like, you can go on Accutane. But in the US, if you go on Accutane,
this is
you
insane.
have to take mandatory therapy.
Yeah.
You have to take blood tests every single month, and you have to go to 3 scheduled testings to make sure you're not like depressed, having like suicidal thoughts. I don't know. The list went on so long, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Which in a way is like a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's like so preventative, but I was like, wow, I don't know if I want to take something that's going to make me think all these things.
Yeah, like why are we told to take all these things?
I was like, there has to be something else. Like
there must be another way.
There She's just full of the pop culture references today. I was
not
like,
me,
there has to
not
be,
Hermione.
Oh my gosh, please stop. There has to be another way. And I remember talking to my husband and to my mom and to Maya and saying like, I don't want to take this, but I also need this to go away. And so my mom, again, the OG green juicer, was like, talk to a couple naturopaths. And I spoke to this naturopath actually based in Singapore.
Mind you, Mili is giving me shit for like being this woman of the earth. And then she goes and does the same thing.
I didn't think, taking like tests to test whether or not I was depressed or having mental health issues.
No, I'm just saying you went and did the natural thing.
I did do the natural thing. See, like,
it's
okay. I followed in her footsteps. Usually she follows in mine. Yeah. And I went and I spoke to a doctor, and this naturopath told me, what is one thing in your diet that you have added in recently
is actually crazy
that
as well.
You feel like is very new? And I was like, nothing. I eat all the same things. I was like, I have my coffee with oat milk, whatever. And he was like, have you always drank oat milk? And I said, no, I mean, you know, but like I lived in the US. It was like the craze and love for oat milk had just developed. And I was like, no, but like, you know, I drink it every day now. And he was like, just in your coffee? And I was like, no, sometimes I put it in my smoothie, like,
or like I'm making overnight
matcha,
oats,
or like I'm making overnight oats. So I guess I'm having oats there. And he was like, you know what? For 2 weeks, try to not have oats.
What's interesting is this naturopat's actually based in Singapore. Which, did you say that?
Yeah, I did.
I blacked out.
She's not listening to me.
Listening to her story.
He said, take that out. And he gave me 3 supplements. And he was like, and take these 3 supplements every day. The supplements were very specifically to reduce inflammation. One was curcumin. One was magnesium for stress specifically. And one was ashwagandha, again, for stress. And I was like, why does he think I need to de-stress so much? And his point was that essentially the cortisol levels in my body were causing so much inflammation that it was just making it worse. And then
cortisol levels were high also because the side effects of having acne mentally are,
yes, exactly.
I mean,
it was
really
like
tough.
all I thought about was the fact that I had acne. And I was like, this is the worst thing. I don't want to go out. I don't want to see people. Like putting makeup on honestly made it look worse in my opinion. And so we did this, and I did this religiously for 2 weeks. I was like so scared that I cut out.
It was longer than 2 weeks.
No, I mean I religiously didn't have oats
the oat
for
milk.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yes, and it was the first thing that actually started working.
Yeah.
Like it was not getting worse. I was not saying it's getting better, but it was not getting worse.
I mean, and to this day, you don't eat oats.
Yeah, and I do not eat oats. Like sometimes I treat myself to an oat milk latte because like I love the taste.
Shout out Oatside.
Yeah, thank you, Oatside. But I do not eat oats. And I stopped eating dairy. I stopped eating so many things. And I like, till today, since 2019, I have never gone a day without taking curcumin, magnesium, or ashwagandha.
Yeah,
those 3
actually, that's insane.
Has been like, I will never stop taking them because it helped so much. I'm sure if I had taken like an Accutane or something, it would have been faster. Like I will not deny that.
Yeah.
But it helped so much, and it really, really helped this progress. And again, I think.
But then wait. So let's just say now you've read chapter 1 and chapter 3 because chapter 2 was the segue between the 2 stories that you didn't read. And now we're skipping to chapter like 6. Pretend there's a bunch of stuff you heard about our lives.
She got sick of me talking. She just cut me off.
Taken over.
Okay.
No, now we're at chapter 6 and it's like COVID. Okay. Like we've been doing this regimen, the 2 of us separately in our own lives.
Talking to our friends. Like we're too embarrassed to post anything online. So we would never do that. But like maybe we should have.
Yeah, maybe would have gone viral. Okay. Anyways, we're at chapter 6 now. And it's like, COVID. It's the height of COVID. Mili and I are both working jobs. I'm in Singapore working for WeWork. Mili is
I had just moved back.
No, let's talk about you moving back.
Oh, sorry. I was living in San Francisco, working remotely. San Francisco shuts down.
Yeah. And our dad is like, oh my God, the world is about to shut down. You have to get on a plane immediately. Fly back to Singapore. Just bring a suitcase,
and
whatever.
I was on the last Singapore Airlines flight back to Singapore.
Yeah.
And we took, before they were like, no more people. And then there was that gap because then they introduced the quarantine stuff. But I was on the last flight and I had to do the 2 weeks quarantine at home though, which was really lucky.
Yeah. So anyways, Mili comes back for whatever the short period of time she thinks she's coming back for. I'm working at WeWork, but it's the height of COVID. And so I'm like, should probably start looking for other jobs considering co-working spaces might not be the thing I should bank on. And so I was always really
Little did she know why she would actually leave WeWork, but in anyways.
No, I mean, yeah. But I'm like, okay, maybe I should find like a part-time job in addition to my full-time job for something that I'm really, really passionate about. And I've always been really passionate about women's health. So I decided to join a vibrator company that I've always been really into. It's called Smile Makers. Long story short, end up part-timing for this vibrator company. And I actually become like the lead on their global education team. So I start going super, super deep into women's health again. Not only with my own experience, I ended up studying it in college again. That was like chapter 0 that we didn't talk about, but got really, really deep into it. Mili moves back and she's working remotely.
Yeah, and I was working remotely and it was COVID and everybody had so much extra time. So what did Maya and I decide to do? We were like, we've always wanted to start a business together. Why don't we start chatting about
company.
it? Oh.
Never mind. 1, 2, 3. A chai company.
Well, part one of that was that we wanted to do something to give back.
Yes, yeah.
So the two of us and our mom, it was the first time in 10 years Maya and I had lived in the same city.
Yeah.
And the first time in 10 years I had lived at my parents' house. That's like a whole nother podcast episode for us to go through with my husband, by the way. So we can talk about that later. But we started this very, like everybody did during COVID. We were doing home baking stuff and selling it. And it was really fun and great. And everybody loved our chai. It was called Sundays Only, if anybody remembers here.
Yes.
And we actually only delivered on Sundays.
Yeah.
Because we had full-time jobs. But we were like, why not start brainstorming our actual business that we've been talking about for years and years and years?
Yeah.
Maya always wanted to do something in women's health. I was like, I want to do a product. I want to create something tangible. I don't understand the internet.
And basically. I think a lot of people ask us, like, how did you decide to start a company with your sister? I think it had always been in the back of our minds, like since we were little. Our dad was an entrepreneur. We helped him like name his business when we were little. I remember we like picked colors of his logo when we were young as well.
Now looking back, we had very bad choices. Like that was ugly.
We're never going to share those ideas. But we had always known we wanted to do something together.
And I think we like jokingly say this, but honestly, starting a business with like a friend, I give you so much credit to people who have done that. I would no longer be friends with that person. Like she has to love me tomorrow. She's genetically, whatever, created attached to love me. And we fight. I mean, we already fought so much. So like, it's fine. We're just continuing that and trying to make some money while doing it.
Yeah, our classic line is like, why don't we make some money off this fight rather than...
Yeah. So working on that one. But so we decided that why not start thinking about ideas. And the first one that we had like really thought of, and
we probably had a list of like 100 ideas,
exactly.
Right? But then we really started working on one.
Yeah.
And all of you are going to be like, oh, Moom. Well, it was called Moom, but it was a completely different idea than what you see today. We were like, let's create this like
platform, services, and products for the pregnancy journey. Yeah. That was basically the idea.
Like, all these people in Singapore, all these women in Singapore during their pregnancy journey, like they have to go to a gynae and then they separately find a doula and then they separately find a Pilates instructor and all these like different stages of the pregnancy journey and people that you speak to are so separated. Like, let's combine that into one and let's create this platform and then we can build products off of that. And like, we're really going to transform the pregnancy journey.
Yes.
So we start pitching.
And then we realized neither of us have been pregnant. So we don't actually know what we're talking about.
And everyone we pitched to was like, oh, you must be so inspired by your journey. And we're like, oh.
We were like, no, we've never gone through this journey. So then after we heard this same kind of narrative a couple times after we spoke to quite a number of gynecologists in Singapore, I think what we realized was that we need to go back to something we've experienced.
Yeah. And like, what is something that we struggled through so bad that like, we wish we had a solution for? Because essentially when you're pitching people about the company, whether it's investors, whether it's your friends, whether it's people you want on the platform, they want to know like, what is your tie to it, right?
Yeah. And if you think about any successful company, everybody has a tie to something.
Exactly.
Right? They have a connection to something. It's either from personal experience or it's from observing things or it's from, I don't know, whatever else.
Like, what is the problem to solve?
Exactly.
So now remember chapter 1 and 2 of the book.
So we thought back to Maya's PCOS journey and my acne journey. And we were like, those were two things that both of us struggled with so much. We both found natural remedies and natural resources ultimately. It took us so long to get there, so many resources. Why don't we just cut it all and figure out how do we create these natural remedies and natural resources for women in Singapore to begin with?
Yeah.
Our goal was always eventually all of Southeast Asia, South Asia.
Yeah.
Creating natural remedies for Asian women by Asian women.
Right. Like, it was so difficult for us to get to the point where we just got a set of supplements at the end of the day.
Exactly.
We visited all these different practitioners. What if there was a way to cut out all of that noise and cut out all of the money and time we spent and make it a lot more accessible?
And we launched Moom.
That was the light bulb moment for us.
Exactly. And so we ran a beta for 6 months, which a lot of people don't actually know. Yeah. But maybe some of you are still Moom customers, which would be amazing, which we ran it with 50 friends and then 50 friends of friends. And the way we defined a friend of friend is that Maya or I could not contact them by WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp. Yeah.
So it was not like an immediate contact. It was something that took a little bit of effort to be able to get to them. Because we didn't want, our friends just being nice to us.
And of course, we were still working our full-time jobs. I think a lot of times, like, okay, this beta thing, when you look up starting a company, there's so much information there about tech companies. And they always talk about this thing, an idea called an MVP, the minimum viable product you can go to market with, right? It's like, what can you launch that you can get feedback on and blah, blah, blah. For us, we were like, how do we apply that to our idea of supplements? We want to create like personalized supplements for the modern Asian woman, personalized to the issue that you're facing, right? Because Mili was facing an issue with acne. I had PCOS. Yep. How can we serve both of us? And so it was like, okay, how do we do this
but it's a physical product and we don't actually have the physical product with us.
Yeah.
We had found by this time, we did skip a few parts. We had found a manufacturer. So we were like, that's the one thing we do have, but we did not have too much capital. We were kind of playing around with it and we didn't have enough faith in ourselves to quit our jobs.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's keep working our full-time jobs and run this beta with these 100 women to get them to try it out. And we launched very sketchy looking personalized sachets and packaging. If anybody remembers, it was basically glorified Ziploc bags.
I mean, it was small Ziploc bags from Daiso.
That came in a, the packets that coffee comes in.
Yeah,
those black coffee packets. And you got your 30 sachets in there.
And we stuck a sticker on them. And they were really ugly.
And it was hideous. And we were like, whatever, but we have to try it. And if we lose...
Looking back, we were like, whoa, this is great branding. Yeah. It was really bad.
We thought we had written like such witty lines. We thought we were so smart.
Yeah.
And we said that, okay, if we lose this small investment, I think we had set aside like $5,000 on this. Yeah. If we lose this, we lose this, but it's better than like losing everything. And the response was great.
So we made a quiz actually.
Yeah.
Once we had found a manufacturer, that took us a really long time. We just took like super simple products from them. We didn't necessarily do all the formulations that you see today, but just really simple ones like a magnesium, a zinc,
ashwagandha, curcumin, kind of like the pure personalized ingredients that you see today.
Yeah. And we were working with, I guess we did skip a lot of chapters, but we were working with naturopaths, nutritionists, all these people that Mili and I had gone to years back. That was actually our original board of like advisors essentially, were the people that I went to when I had my issues with PCOS and Mili went to when she had her acne struggle. So those same doctors that were doing all those different things to us were the doctors that were part of our advisory board. And they helped create this quiz for us that basically asked people questions. Honestly, it's not that different from the quiz we have today online, but asked people questions, specifically women, about their health journeys, and then it churned out a set of results. So we started off by just sending our friends and friends of friends these products for free, just to see, again, what their response would be.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where we were like, okay, let's talk to some of our friends who have started businesses before, maybe read some things online, watch some YouTube videos. A lot of people say, okay, your next like proof of concept is to see that people would pay for it.
Yeah.
So we put a very arbitrary number on the cost.
I think it was like, and it was very low. Was it 30?
I think it was $30.
Oh, okay. It wasn't that low actually. Well, it was kind of low. It was $30 a month.
Yeah.
And you get your personalized supplements sent to you. And we were like, let's see how many people stayed. And I think like 75 or 80% of people stayed. And we were like, okay, we don't actually know all these people either.
Yeah.
And mind you, 50 friends is a very loose term. Like, I don't have 50 friends. So it was definitely, I mean, she definitely does, but it was definitely like, just people that we knew that we were like, okay, would be interested in this. And then their friends. And about 75 to 80% of people were like, yeah, we'll continue this. This is great. It's convenient. It's giving me what I need. The formulations work for me. And I feel
like
so much better.
I finally found a solution for supplements because I always walk into like a Watson's, a Guardian or something.
And I don't know what to look at.
And I'm lost.
Yeah. Because we were working so closely with our manufacturer and our formulators on these very like ingredient specific products, a lot of them targeted things like sleep, energy, stress. And a lot of people over the month started telling us like, I do feel a lot more energized. And I've taken ingredients like this before and I have not felt this way. And that's when we were like, okay, great. Not only are we solving for convenience, but also the form that we're giving our products in, the efficacy, the products, everything, kind of the formulation, everything is working the way that we want it to.
Yeah.
Now let's really get into this.
And I think a lot of that also came from our own understanding of supplements, because we knew so much about the space just taking them, like as a consumer. Also, again, our mom had been like super well educated on all of this. And then we were educated based on the experiences that we had, right? But not everyone has been. So that's kind of why we put such an emphasis on specific ingredients, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, essentially by the end of the beta, it was 6.5 months, I think. We were like, okay, actually we have something here.
Yeah, let's launch it.
Let's just see what happens.
So we launched it out of Maya's childhood bedroom. We got it.
Younger sister gets the bedroom taken away.
Yeah, it's okay. She deserves it. We got it all medically graded and certified, and it was a hilarious process. And we were like, okay, we're going to start this, but we still didn't have enough faith in ourselves. So we didn't quit our jobs.
No.
And we didn't hire anyone. And if you guys have seen our personalized packaging, every single order is very different.
Yeah, we weren't like the mathematical geeks that are like, oh, like based on this number of combinations, like you can pre-pack these different things based on what people order.
Every single person's order is completely different.
Hand-packed
each sachet. That is true till today, but luckily Maya and I are not still doing it. We have an amazing team that does that.
Shout out ops team.
But we were like, okay, we'll pack every order. So from... You know how there are like those TikToks that are like, follow my 6 to 9 after my 9 to 6. That was literally our 6 to 12 after our 9 to 6.
Like 6 to 1.
Yeah, we
We launched on June 4th, 2021.
Yeah, and we would 2021, 2021. You're correct.
2021 June 4th.
And for about
with an Instagram and a website.
Yep, and for 2.5 months or 3 months, it was just the two of us packing everybody's order, doing everything. Honestly, everything else was very doable. It was the packing orders that became really difficult because...
Yeah, I think we learned a lot in those first 3 months. We were doing a mixture... Okay, I mean, to be honest, we really just launched with an Instagram and sent to KOLs who we still speak to today. Like, I think in our first month, we sent to Charlotte.
Charlotte Wang Wang.
Charlotte Wang Wang is still one of our greatest supporters. And like, she's literally been on Moom since the beginning, which is so cool. We didn't know that much about everything. I think like we went in being like, we are very passionate about this. Let's see what happens and let's just go for it.
Yeah. And having each other was definitely a huge plus. So a lot of people now ask us to give them advice on starting a business. And I always like have severe imposter syndrome when anybody asks me that. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing every single day. But on the days when I feel a little bit more confident, I always say, I couldn't recommend starting something with a co-founder more.
Yeah. Oh
like,
my God.
I think it is just having someone that you can like bounce off ideas from. Being a founder is a very lonely journey. You work all the time and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You will find that balance. But I think until you do, just knowing that there's somebody else doing it with you, there's somebody else to just guide you through the entire process is great. But in any case, it was the two of us packing all orders. We waited about 2.5 or 3 months before we hired our first operations associate.
And I think like we were so fueled by the response that we got, right? Everything we wanted to put out there was like creating supplements personalized to the modern Asian woman. It really mattered that we were honing in on women's health issues. Like our quiz was one of the first quizzes we saw that was talking about the color of your period blood and how heavy your period was and what kind of acne you're seeing on your face, right? It was really related to the experiences we had and our friends had as well.
But there was a point where I think I was the one that said, I can no longer pack another personalized order.
Yeah, Mili was going insane.
Like, because we're still working our full-time jobs.
Yeah, it was
we
a
are
lot.
doing this. And I was like, if we're going to continue this business, like I cannot pack every single order. We need to hire someone.
And I think like to set the stage again, we were sitting in the bedroom till 1 a.m. every night watching TV. I think we probably watched like every single show on Netflix.
Like packing
orders. Or listening to podcasts. Like this is probably what inspired us to start a podcast too. We were like, we need something to entertain us. So we listened to murder mystery podcasts all the time. We listened to founders from around the world. I think that's how we really got so much information on how to start our own business as well. Like we listened to so many podcasts at that time. And then it was like, okay, there's a breaking point. And I think so many founders tell you, like, hire that person earlier than you think you need it. We did not listen to that advice at all.
Till today, we are still not listening to that advice.
Yeah, but
we've gotten better.
Schumann, our first hire, literally changed everything for us.
We moved into a warehouse. So I'm skipping a few parts, but just to kind of get to a little bit further down the story, because I feel like this episode is going to be forever otherwise. We moved into a warehouse because we were finally we had started getting the traction in enough orders that Maya's childhood bedroom could not
was no longer
hold
cutting
it. And my mom was like, these boxes have to get out. Like, it's too much. We moved into our warehouse. We hired our first hire, Schumann, who then found our second hire for us, Celeste, who is today our senior operations associate, which is super exciting. But yes, who found that, and slowly the team started growing, and it felt like there was a little bit of air to breathe.
Yeah.
Like Maya and I could actually think about a marketing campaign because we had, you know, an extra 2 hours in a day. That's not to say we still didn't help with orders. Like we 100% did.
Yeah.
To be honest, until last year we helped with orders.
Yeah.
But
11.
It was just a lot better. And I think that's when we really realized, okay, there are feet on this company. Let's like,
there are feet on this company.
What is that phrase?
I have no idea.
I don't know where I was going with that, but there are legs.
There are legs to the business. There are, okay, you heard it here first. There are feet to this company.
Feet make you move too. Okay, there are legs to this business. Let's go with it. That's what we did. And we
kept going until it was the first year. Yeah. And I think like what the reason that we're pausing a bit is because basically at that point, we had been approached by a lot of VCs and people that wanted to fund Moom. And again, it was just Mili and I that had put in all of our savings into Moom so far. We were still a really, really small team. We hadn't thought about funding. And I think, we skipped over a lot of hard work and stuff, but we were like, okay, this is maybe beyond feet. It is now legs.
Yes.
We do have legs.
We graduated.
And let's think about building this into something bigger than we ever thought it could be.
And I think an interesting thing to talk about this is that I still think Maya and I don't think like every business needs VC funding. Like I do not think we are like that, or that every business needs funding.
Yeah.
Supplements are a very large inventory business.
Yeah.
A minimum order of supplements is 1 million capsules. And that's like...
We really skipped over all of this.
Yeah, we did. But just to fill you all in, that's like a manufacturer doing you a favor.
Yeah.
So...
We had approached so many manufacturers, by the way.
And they all were like, 10 million capsules. And we were like, 10 million capsules? Oh my God.
Yeah,
like what?
Is
I was like, what do we do with all of this if nobody buys it?
Remember, we're in the childhood bedroom. There's no space for that.
Our mom was like, no storage here.
Yeah.
So... we were like, okay, how do we start hitting those inventory orders without literally not being able to make any profit because we have to spend so much more than what we're actually getting. And
we have to like serve the customer, right? Exactly. I think that is something to this day we still struggle with as like a small growing business is inventory. And also it's not just about, okay, like getting the products and then selling the products. It's like being able to continually sell those products. A lot of you are on subscription. So it's like, how do we, and at the beginning, everyone was on subscription. That was the only thing we offered. So how do we make sure that people
and we always say this, that like supplements are not a hype business. Like you don't want to sell out of it. It's kind of like skincare. If I buy a face wash that I like, I want it all the time.
Yeah.
If I take a supplement that I like, I just want that. I don't really want to change it. It's not like, I don't know, like clothing, I think hype marketing works so well. Like you want that one piece. If it sells out, you want it even more.
I mean, we're building a business on you being consistent on your supplement. That is what changed the course of our, like, I guess, diagnoses, if you will. So why would we not want the same for you, right?
And that's when then the funding became so important. And we were like, okay, we do need to hire a team because if we are going to even hold this much inventory, we have to sell it.
Yep.
And Maya and I cannot be the only two selling it. So yeah, that's kind of how the team grew. But I feel like the team is a whole nother... You can talk about the nitty gritties of a business in another episode.
But that's essentially what got us to year one. The end of year one.
And year 2 and 3 are in another episode.
Yeah.
Before we stop, I think something that we actually asked our community, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know, is that from the very beginning, even year 1, community has been like the biggest thing for us. We started Moom Walks in our first year where we basically begged 30 people to come walk with us. Today we get wait lists of over 200 people. So it's very exciting. But our whole idea was, okay, how do we not only like thank the people that are growing this business with us, but how do we grow Moom with our community, and how do we ultimately create Moom with our community? You guys are the ones that are buying the products. You guys are the ones enjoying it. Like, we want you to be able to actually create the entire experience with us
and build the company alongside of us.
Yes. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think something that Maya and I did before we started this podcast was that we actually want you guys to really be part of this podcast as well. So we put it out to our community to ask us questions about our first year, about really like the growing pains in Moom. And so we kind of want to wrap up this episode with a couple questions
from the community.
And
it's going to be rapid fire question and answer.
Oh, okay. That was a surprise. I thought we had more time to speak, but she's really going to cut me off today. Younger sister energy. Go.
Okay. So
she's reading off questions directly from the community, the Moom Room.
Okay, so these are some of the ones. I'm going to pick out some that make sense for this episode. Somebody asked us where their order is, and
it's coming. Like we promised, it's coming.
We're packing as quickly as we can.
That's my favorite question.
In the questions about the podcast.
Where is my order? No details. One request from us. If you guys are asking where your order is, please send your order number or email so we can track it. It's very difficult to track off an Instagram handle.
Okay, question 1. How did you come up with the name Moom?
Okay, I wish this was a sexier story. I always wish this was. But going back to our mother, when we were launching Moom, we were trying to Google, how do you name a business? Like everybody does. And this article popped up that actually Gwyneth Paltrow was being interviewed by the Financial Times or something like that. And we were like, big deal. Let's click on this one. So we clicked on it, and she said that one of her advisors told her that a lot of internet forward businesses are very successful when they have 2 O's in them.
Google,
Zoom,
Yahoo,
Google, Facebook. Okay, he went and changed the name, but it was successful still as Facebook. And truly the list goes on, like Goop, her name. And she said that the way that she thought of it was G&P, Gwyneth Paltrow, and the 2 O's, Goop. And we were like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute.
No, I was like, that's stupid. But then our mom was like, oh my God, you should do M&M, Maya and Mili, Moom. And I was like, that is also stupid. But then we were like, wait,
that's kind of cute. And we kept throwing it out to people, and people were like, oh, is it because like Moom, like almost like your mom guiding you through something? Or is it Moom like your moon cycle? Or people had so many thoughts about the name that we were like, oh, this is quite an interesting conversation starter, but also
it means nothing, and it can mean everything.
Yes, exactly. And that was what we wanted it to be. So that is the title of the
question 2.
Oh my God, the title name of our company.
What are the challenges of running Moom, and how do you overcome them?
Ooh, today was a big challenge test.
Let's maybe pinpoint one challenge each we had in the first year.
Okay.
Because this episode is like first year.
For me, I think a big challenge was having the faith to hire. I was very scared. I'm a very money scared person. I get nervous to spend too much. Till today, I get nervous to spend too much.
Yeah,
I am constantly told that, I'm being very conservative. We need to aim higher. We need to grow higher. And I agree with all of that, but it genuinely brings me a lot of stress and fear. So I think for me, being able to take the leap of faith to even be able to hire one person was like very difficult, let alone like 3 people. And now our team is like 20 people. That frightens me even now.
Yeah. I think year 1 for me, probably the biggest challenge was like being okay with like the sacrifices you have to make. I think I place a lot of value on having a social life and having a life outside of work and whatever work-life balance means. And that's not to say that we didn't have it that first year, but I think it was hard for me to understand how much of a sacrifice entrepreneurs have to make. And I don't think you know until you do it.
Yeah.
And then we want to end with...
So we're going to be ending all of our podcast episodes with this. 2 questions.
Okay, you go.
You go.
No, you ask them.
Okay.
I just asked all the
First question. What is your favorite wellness tip?
I thought it's your non-negotiable.
Yeah, wellness tip, non-negotiable. Okay, sorry. Rephrase. What is your favorite? What is your
favorite non-negotiable?
What is your one non-negotiable to taking care?
Yes, that's the question.
That's the question. I was trying to not look at my phone.
Okay, you go first.
Movement. I think I am somebody that I used to work out a lot for like, because I thought I had to.
Yeah.
And as I think any athlete can kind of tell you this, as an ex-athlete and like so far behind, I felt like I had to go to swim practice every day. I had to work out 5 hours a day. Otherwise I was going to lose. That was really my mentality. But now it's genuinely to stay sane.
Yeah. I think mine is putting the phone away. It's a new one for me, I think. But
she literally doesn't respond after 8 p.m. It's so annoying.
Okay, it's
9
like
p.m.
10.
9.
These past 2 months, it's 10 for sure. But yes, I really like to have time away from my phone. And whether that's like cooking an amazing meal with my husband, whether it's like going for a walk, whether it's just watching TV, like I need time where I can detach my brain. And I think truly the only way to detach your brain is to put your phone away. I think that is my 1,000,000% non-negotiable wellness tip.
That's my goal.
Or my goal, my thingy to taking care, whatever we called it.
Yeah.
And obviously taking my happy hormones for me. It's like my absolute non-negotiable. I think that's the next question. Well, that was the next
question.
Oops,
what's your favorite Moom product?
Well, happy hormones. Because happy hormones is the supplement that led us to creating Moom. It took us a year and a half, almost 2 years to actually launch the product because it was a really difficult one. But we had been working on happy hormones from the beginning.
Yes. Actually, originally we had wanted to launch with happy hormones. But we couldn't because we didn't like how it tasted.
It is the only supplement that has kept my period regular since I was diagnosed with PCOS.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
My favorite right now, as of today, is Super Greens.
Yes.
Because I have virtually given up coffee.
Yeah, it's actually insane.
And not only coffee, like caffeine. I don't really drink caffeine. I will sometimes even take a non-caffeinated Super Greens in the morning, but I take my Super Greens every single morning.
Actually, Mili told me her husband sometimes tricks her and gives her the non-caffeinated
It's like my one like indulgence is that I love when my husband, I hope he's going to listen to this, brings me my greens in bed so that like it's just there for me. And 9 times out of 10 he does. And yeah, sometimes he puts the non-caffeinated version and I'm like, ooh, I'm good to go. So there's definitely, I mean, I think it's the one product that has really changed my caffeine intake, which to me is so important because I'm a horrible sleeper and it's in turn helped my sleep so much.
Is Take Care with Moom.
Thanks so much for joining, guys.
Please let us know any questions you have for future episodes.
Bye.
We love you.